Good morning on a beautiful September 30th in Milwaukee. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend and little Indian summer action. It's great. It's great. Yeah, I don't know. We'll get into it today. So, like three big topics for you. Okay, there are some changes coming to the industry effective December 1st. You have to pay attention to, otherwise you won't close. And there's some information that will be required of you as it relates to FinCEN, which is the financial something securities. We'll get there. Okay. No, because you will be on when it is. But Sherry, General Counsel for Nightberry Title, is in here today that will talk about it, and you need to be paying attention to it. And this will be a requirement across all title companies in the state of Wisconsin moving forward as of December 1, 2025. And then I'll kind of wrap it up with some thoughts around growth, ambition, and then we're going to go through a recap of a little bit of August year-to-date awards. And it was interesting. I'll tell you this. I had lunch recently with a, let's just say a publicly traded company in Milwaukee CEO. And I asked them the question why growth and ambition were important, because I'm fighting through what I feel it sometimes to be some complacency. Not with me personally, but when you're trying to drive growth and you feel like you're working with complacency, how do you drive through the complacency and why growth and ambition matters? And he said, yeah, Charlie, I have some thoughts on that. And so I took some notes, and I have 5 things that he shared with me as it relates to how he thinks about growth and ambition for a publicly traded CEO, and how they think about why growth and ambition matters. Cool? All right, so we'll jump into it. It's a little hard for me. Well, I'll just do this. So, excuse me, one second. If you don't know, Cindy Cous was an incredible member of our leadership team for a long time. She started with us December of 2017 in the Southwest office. I didn't think I'd do this, but she was on our compliance team for about 5 years, and then she developed ALS. And over the last couple of years has been battling ALS. And on Friday, she passed. So I share that with you because you might have seen it on Facebook, just because there were a lot of people talking about it over the weekend. And yeah, it sucks. Coolest part about it, not that it's ever cool, but I don't know, I'm a little lost for words, is several years ago when she was first diagnosed, we did a golf outing for her, and the golf outing raised about $75,000 for her and her family. And at the time, we had an agent whose brother was Charlie Barron's, and we convinced Charlie Barron's to come and be the MC of the event, and he did it free of charge. And then a couple years later, Brian was really needing some money, and we went to KW Cares. Sorry. And we got the largest grant ever awarded in KW Cares for her and her family. And then last spring, they were in a tough spot again. She was doing some experimental treatments down in Florida that wasn't paid for by insurance. Brian raised his hand again, and there was a group of us who put on a kind of like a prom. And we put on a prom last spring and raised another, I don't know, I think $30,000 or $40,000 to try and help them just ease the pain of everything that was going on. So I share it with you, one, because Cindy was an incredible member of our community. Brian still is. If you want to know what a real spouse not a real spouse, that's probably the wrong way to put it, but how you stick with someone when they're really battling Oh, Brian's an incredible, incredible example of what it means to be a great spouse. So I share that with you just to say, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. For those of you that know Cindy, will obviously share the details out. I think they're going to wait a little bit to do a celebration of life in a few weeks. But I'd be remiss if I didn't at least honor Cindy, because she had been with us for a long time, was a great member of the community, and I know Brian's hurting. I talked to him on Friday after she passed. So let me give you a heads up. Cool. Oh. All right. Thanks for bearing with me on that. Education events upcoming. I don't know what the fuck you go from that to this, but I couldn't just turn it over to Sherry and say, here you go. I at least did think about that. Because that weighed heavily all day on me yesterday and into this morning before I was getting down here. And I don't usually have a lot of anxiety on Tuesdays. I just kind of come out and do my thing. And I had a lot of anxiety this morning on how I was going to present that. So I at least said, I need a filler before Sherry comes up. Woo! All right. October training calendar is out and we're in the thick of bold. You can see every Thursday. We have roughly 130 people. It'll be around 130 people that are taking bold with Amber. We moved a lot of offer practices and things to Tuesdays and Wednesdays, which is why you see Tuesdays and Wednesdays rather full. And then once you have a full week, I know what it looks like on Fridays, so we left it rather light on Fridays. Cool. We will be hosting another Opportunity Knocks, aka this is speed dating. If you're thinking about starting a team, thinking about joining a team, or wanting to look for opportunities within a team, we will be pulling our teams together on Thursday, October 16th, immediately after Bold, so conveniently located in the same location. If you're looking for a job, you want to be an admin, you're thinking about being a buyer's agent, or want to be what it looks like to be on a team, because there's always the question of what does it look like to be on a team. We provide a space for everyone to come together to learn about what that looks like for you, and that's upcoming on Thursday the 16th. I will say, I thought Bold last week, Thursday, was fantastic. It was content rich. Amber did an exceptional job delivering it. And for those that are taking it, it was a great day. I don't know. Bold's a great, I think it'll be a great class. I'm really looking forward to it. Amber and I even connected again on Friday, and we're looking forward to the results it can deliver for you and your family. Sound good? All right. With that, and you got your Bold letters yesterday. There you go. Bold letters I know came in yesterday's mail. So with that, I'm flipping it over to Sherry. Sherry, there's new reporting requirements coming out that impact all of us beginning December 1st. So I'm flipping it over to you to walk us through what that means and what it looks like. Yeah, it's all good. Here, you can sit there.
Okay. Well, I'm not that tall, so I will just fall off the stool if I do that. Do you have a clicker check for chance?
You just gotta push the button.
You gotta push the button. That's a lot going on. Okay, I'm gonna. Oh, I literally have to be here. Okay, I am here. First, my name is Sherry Hippenbecker. I'm general counsel at Nightberry Title. We are the partner with Focus Title. Jen Moes and a couple of the other ladies are here. I'm talking about Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. And the new reporting requirements that come in as of all closings December 1, 2025 forward, not just for the state of Wisconsin, not just for the state of Illinois, but every single state of the union, all of our territories in the United States, as well as Indian territories. Hey there. I was trying to say hi to you because Kelly's texted me about you. So in any event, what we're going to be talking about is the reporting requirements. What's key here is that you as the real estate agents don't need to do anything. You just need to be aware that this is something that the settlement companies have to be involved in, and that if we don't get the information we need, we cannot close. Why? Because if we close and we don't have the information we need in a reportable transaction, we get to pay lots of money and go to jail. And my boss has told me, Charlie being one of them, I don't want to go to jail today. I don't want to pay this money. So here's the steps that we're going to take. You don't need to be involved with the reporting itself, the collection of the information I'm going to talk about. But what we're hoping that you are is an advocate and understand why we're asking for this information, why we have to ask for it, and why we're going to be asking information that we've never asked for before. So let me click the button. Here we go. Oh, you did this a little differently.
Here you go. How about this?
Okay.
Boom.
Welcome to your legal update, where we bring you the latest developments in laws and regulations that impact you. This fall, a new force enters real estate, FinCEN. On December 1st, 2025, its powers expand nationwide to stop money laundering and protect the market. Their mission, regulating shadow transactions, all cash deals, properties in trusts or entities, even vacant land intended for homes. No price too small, no corner of the market untouched. On the front line, closing agents, title companies, attorneys, escrow agents. They're the ones who file the FinCEN report. Realtors don't collect this data, but you can prepare your clients for what's required. Sellers provide the basics: name, address, and tax ID. Buyers using LLCs or trusts must unmask their true identity with documents and owner details. Starting December 1st, all cash residential transfers to trusts and entities must be reported to FinCEN. Find the new disclosure form at wra.org/forms.
As we go along, Jen Moes is going to give you a copy of that disclosure form. The disclosure form and that video came out from the Wisconsin Realtor Association last week, Wednesday. And so you're going to start hearing a lot more about it, but here's your preview as well. So am I doing this right, Charlie? I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. So thank you. I just do it down arrow now?
No, over arrow.
Over arrow. Okay. Financial Crimes Enforcement Network is part of the U.S. Department of Treasury. This is where the reporting is going to. It was started in 1970 under the Bank Secrecy Act, and the idea is to stop money laundering. What we're doing here is stopping money laundering. There's been money laundering stoppage in banks since 1970. And about 2016, there was a smattering of trying to stop money laundering in residential real estate transactions in about 39 countries nationwide. And it was very, very successful, this kind of smattering. They called it geographic targeting orders in places where people launder money. If you were a person that laundered money, where would you buy property? And think about who launders money. Lord, oh my goodness, you're right. Anybody else? Where else do people, money launderers, they're drug people. They're people that are involved in the sex trade, cybercrime. Where else would they buy property? Are they buying property in Door County, Wisconsin? Probably not. Chicago, Los Angeles, California, let me think, New York, Hawaii, all of those are 69 counties. It was a very successful way to be able to identify money laundering. And they said, you know what, let's not stop just at those 69 counties. Let's move it, or 39 counties, my apologies. Let's move it beyond. Why? It doesn't like me. Let's move it beyond those to all counties in the United States. One thing I want to point out is people are like, well, this isn't really going to pass. We're not going to have this reporting in all counties throughout the United States. I think it is going to stay into effect. It has been on the books since August of 2024 that it was going to happen as of December 1 of 2025. And people maybe want to have a delay, want to have it stopped. But the problem is we're the only G7 country in the world that doesn't have a comprehensive system to stop anti-money laundering when it comes to residential real property or real property in general. That is why I think if this gets delayed beyond December 1, 2025, fine. But that doesn't mean it goes away entirely. I think it exists. So that's my 2 cents. All right. The expansion nationwide was proposed in February of 2024. Final rule was issued August of 2024 with the effective date of December 1, 2025. And just on Friday, the actual final form was approved by the Office of Management and Budget in DC. So the point is, this thing is going forward. What you need to know is, when do we have a reportable transaction? What needs to be reported? Who does the reporting? That's going to be us. What are the contents of that report? And what are some penalties if we don't follow these rules? Again, your role is just to say, yes, this is a real thing. Yes, you need to provide this information to Focus Title or whatever settlement company is working on this transaction. Otherwise, we can't close. So let's talk about what a reportable transaction is. The rule in front of you is 31 CFR, which is Code of Federal Regulation, blah, 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 blah. And this is the actual rule. Federal government could have stopped right here with this language. A reportable transfer is a non-finance transfer to a transferee entity or trust of an ownership interest in residential real property. So those three pillars that we have to talk about when we have a reportable transaction. Non-finance transfer, what does that mean? Transferee entity or trust, residential real property. They could have stopped there. They went on for 120 pages describing what it is. I'm not going to bore you with those 120 pages. It's exciting stuff. But let's break down those three pillars on how the federal government has defined, for purposes of these rules, what is residential real property, what is a transferee entity trust, and what is non-finance. Because you hit all three of those, you have a reportable transaction. So first, let's go with transaction type. Residential real property. If somebody gave you a vacant land offer to purchase, that's not residential, is it? It could be under the rule. Commercial offer to purchase could be residential real property under this rule. Residential real property offer to purchase probably is residential real property under the rule. The rule defines residential real property, again, in all 50 states, as 1 to 4 family structures. Vacant land on which the owner intends to build a 1 to 4 family structure. That's why I said that vacant land offer might be it. We might have to ask that question. What is the intention? Think builders that buy vacant land, maybe 10 lots, probably buy in their LLC, right? Probably buy with cash, because you always buy the lot with cash and then you take financing out for the actual building. That would qualify for purposes of this rule. Mixed use, which includes 1 to 4 family. I love my transferee pizzeria down he's nodding right there. You know, transferee
Okay,
pizzeria,
great.
turn the corner. Transferee pizzeria is on the 1st floor, and the 2nd floor and 3rd floor, they're apartment units. They're 1 to 4 family apartment units. That qualifies as residential real property under the rule. So we're training our staff to say, I don't know if it's residential or not, but we're going to have to ask a little bit more questions that we have in the past. And then shares in a co-op, but we don't have to worry about that in our particular industry, because we have 1 co-op in the city of Milwaukee that I'm aware of. 2, my apologies, 2 co-ops in the city of Milwaukee. Now I'm aware of 2. So residential real property, we're going to have to start asking questions if we think the other 2 pillars or the other 2 parts of the test are met. The second part of the test is you have residential real property. Number 2 is, do you have a transferee entity or buyer? And this is probably the easiest one. A transferee entity is LLC, partnership, corporation. Easy enough. Transferee trust is a trust. Shocking. That's what it is. No big surprises on this second pillar. The third pillar is money or non-financed. In the original GTO world, the geographic targeting orders that started in 2016 with those limited counties throughout the United States, it was a true cash thing. If there was cash and only cash, then you had a reportable transaction. And they had a dollar threshold. For the most part, it was $300,000. It was a cash purchase in these counties for $300,000. The new reporting here takes away that issue. Say any dollar amount. In fact, $0 amounts still can qualify for the reporting. Question is there a deed to a transferee entity or trust of residential real property without, and now we go into what is financed. I'm going to just read this because this is how the language of the code is. The term non-finance transfer means a transfer that does not involve an extension of credit to all transferees, lot there, that is, number 1, secured by the transfer of residential real property, and number 2, extended by a financial institution that has both an obligation to maintain an anti-money laundering program and an obligation to report suspicious transactions under this chapter. What does that mean? That means your banks like Associated Bank, BMO, many of your credit unions, they have an anti-money laundering program already in place because of that 1970 start of the FinCEN, which is Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. But let me talk about some other lenders that don't have anti-money laundering rules in place. Farm credit agencies apparently don't all have that. I was shocked by that. Hard money lenders do not have an AML program. That's what it's called, anti-money laundering, is AML SAR program. So think about in the way that you do your work. Do you deal with people that buy residential real property as defined in the rule in entities, and do they use hard money loans or do they use cash? If they do, it's a reportable transaction. Those are your 3 pillars. Questions about those 3 pillars? And there's going to be some exemptions, by the way. You could be fit like all 3 of those pillars: residential real property, transferee, entity of trust, and non-financed. And you could potentially be exempt in very, very few circumstances. And it's, for the most part, highly regulated entities who already have the federal government in their business don't need to be able to do this reporting. I think that's going to be about 5% of the time. So I don't want to belabor the point. But if your client says, hey, I know that this is reportable because I hit the 3 pillars, but I think I'm exempt because I'm the type of company that's exempt. Like yesterday, somebody reached out to me and said, hey, we have a tribe buying some residential real, an Indian tribe buying some residential real property December 2nd. Are they exempt? And the answer is yes. The tribe is exempt because obviously they have some involvement with the federal government. But if you have questions about that, then I can dig into that 120-page rule. For purposes of our discussion today, I don't want to do that. All right. So once you identify the 3 pillars and you have a reportable transaction, you have to identify who's going to report. There are actually 7 different choices of parties that have an obligation to report. I point this out only to say that if Focus Title or Nightberry Title is involved, we're going to handle the reporting. But if you're not using a settlement company or a settlement company you're unaware of, look at all the different parties that have to report here. The settlement agent listed on the settlement statement. The person who prepares the settlement statement. Do you guys ever prepare settlement statements? Realtors used to. I think some realtors still do in the northern part of the state. That puts them in the cascading order. The person who files the deed for recordation, the person who issues the owner's policy of title insurance, the person who disperses the greatest amount of funds, the person who did a title examination, and the person who prepares the deed. So if you use one party to do the settlement and one party to prepare the deed, they both have reporting obligations, and then they have to connect together to say in writing who's going to do the reporting for this particular transaction. So if you ever do any transactions outside the scope of a settlement company like ours, then be aware that you may fall in that cascading order and have an obligation to do the reporting. And it's a lot of fun. Let's talk about what's actually in the report. This is the stuff that you need to be aware of. There's actually 7 categories of information that have to be in the report. Who is the reporting person, the transferee entity or trust, the transferee beneficial owners, and signing individuals. This is information we've never asked for before. Maureen, have you ever bought real property?
Yes.
In an LLC?
Yes.
Has anybody ever, and you bought it for cash, or let's just pretend you bought it for cash, okay? Has anybody asked you, hey, Maureen, who are all of the owners of your entity? Who, do you have, okay? Okay, not only do I need to know that, but who has control over the entity? I mean, to the extent that you have owners, who has control of that entity? Who's going to come in and sign? I've always asked who's going to come in and sign. That's helpful for me. Now I got to go a little step further. Okay, now you've told me who the people are. Now I need their date of birth, their street address, their country of citizenship, their FEIN. That's a lot of personal data that I have to get. And I have to get that certified to Focus Title Nightberry by somebody. And as you saw in that video published by the WRA says realtors don't fill out this form, but make sure that you have somebody that fills out this form and certifies to the settlement company that that information I just asked you about, who are the owners, what are the dates, names, dates of birth, street addresses, social security numbers, country of citizenship, has to be certified to us so that we can take that to the federal government. Because if they lie and the federal government comes back to us, we go, they told us this was what it was. How do I know any different? That's information we have to gather. We have to gather information about the transferor. Private information about the transferor has to be disclosed to the federal government. The property transferred, that's easy peasy. We'll get that from our commitment. Here's what's going to be hard. Payments made by or on behalf of the transferee. Your buyers come in, they send money to Jen Moes, and they do it via wire, right? And Jen, you go, got my money. Cool. Do you have to ask any more questions about where did that money come from? Tell me a little bit more. Whose bank account was that? What's the bank account number? We have to gather that information that has to be reported to us and certified to us as well. There is a form that I sent to Charlie that he'll distribute afterwards. It's much easier. That's the buyer certification form. Right now, it's in PDF and it's in a fillable PDF form. But we're working with a team, and you guys don't even know that over there, that's going to have an online portal in a secure format to gather that information. But I told you just a few moments ago that the form for the federal government only was finally approved on Friday. So our online portals have to wait a little bit because now we finally have a form that we can move forward to. We are hopeful by December 1st that we will have an online portal to ask all these questions and to have the information certified to us, again, in a secure format, because we have to retain it for 5 years. All the information we have to retain for 5 years. If the federal government comes knocking, we have to make it available to them. But right now it's a 9-page. It's literally 9 pages. 9 pages. It has to be 9 pages. I was one of the team of people that wrote it for the American Land Title Association nationwide, and that's as skinny as I could get it. Sorry. And then finally, we have to give information about hard money lenders. So we have to gather all of this information. And Jen, if we ask for this stuff after the closing, will we get this type of information that I just asked about Maureen about? So when are we going to ask for that? And if we don't have it at the closing table, we're training our people to stop, because there's no way we're going to be able to get it after closing. We have this is the only leg we have. So we're going to say, stop. You could complete it at the closing, especially if we're in an online portal. Stop, complete it here. I'd prefer to have it completed before the closing, but if they say, you know what, I'll come in, I'll complete it on your computer, not a problem. I'm okay with that, provided they have all the information. Because look, I own an LLC with my husband, and every single time I have to look up his social security number. I don't know his social security number by heart, much less the other people that are in that LLC that we have an ownership interest with. All right. So you have, I just talked about the collection forms. Charlie will send them around, but no, we are going to try to get away from the paper version of the collection of information form to the online portal. But there are going to be occasions when people say, I'm not comfortable with the online portal, I want the paper version. We'll provide that as well. And we'll have it branded to Focus Title as well. There is a collection form for the buyer side, because we need a lot more information from the buy side than we do from the sale side. But there is also a collection form from the seller side, because we also need that to be certified to us. From a seller side, I don't need to ask for that personal data regarding the unmasking the people behind the limited liability company, corporation, partnership, or trust. But I still have to gather information that needs to be reported to the federal government. Federal government takes all that information, analyzes it, sees consistencies in the use of funds, and then goes after the bad guys. They've been very successful in going after the bad guys. In the last couple of years, the U.S. government has stopped over $2 billion of collected over $2 billion of assets because of these type of systems in place. So we have to help them, because why? It's going to be a requirement. All right, Jen, you released the disclosure form to everybody. Does everybody have a copy of that disclosure form? So last week, in addition to that video we saw at the very beginning, the Wisconsin Realtors Association published this disclosure form that you're going to want to have as part of your documentation. And what is that disclosure form? Actually, can I take a copy? Okay, and then you guys can share. You can see it's a 1-page form. And it's a disclosure only, because I've been working with Jennifer Lindsley. You'll see at the bottom, she's the drafter. She and I have been communicating for the last couple of months. It's very easy for the WRA to make modifications to the disclosure form. It's a lot more difficult for them to modify addendums or to put it into the offer to purchase. Because if you're going to the offer to purchase, you got to go through what's called the Real Estate Examining Board. It's a board of people, which includes people from the Wisconsin Realtors Association, from the state bar, from lenders, all over. It takes a much longer time period to get it done. This, they could publish in a couple of days. And in fact, we made modifications moments before it was published. So this is available. And the idea is that we're telling buyers and sellers, if you have a reportable transaction, you got to provide the information to the settlement company, or the settlement company can't close. And buyer, by the way, oh, did I tell you how long the FinCEN believes it's going to take a settlement company to collect, gather, report this information? 2.75 hours.
When they ask us, when they feel it, I'm not telling you. Our answer is obviously, well, then you're not going to close.
Correct.
Thank you.
We cannot close. I'm done. In fact, we had a meeting with FinCEN on July 16th and asked that question. I said, could we still close? And then give you a suspicious activity report, shining a big old spotlight on this transaction. I thought that was great. And they said, hey, wow, you guys are getting it. There's a lot of stuff they said no to during that call. And that was one of the things they said no to. So we have to stop. So in the disclosure form, you'll see at the bottom, line 24, buyer shall pay all costs and fees to prepare and file the FinCEN report. It's going to take us 2.75 hours. We are trying to skinny that down with our online portal, but we have all of these trainings we have to do. We have to train our staff. We have to have these communications. I don't think that's far off. I think we're going to try to skinny it down, and there will be a fee. We're looking somewhere in the $350 neighborhood to the buyer. Now, if we get more efficient, maybe we bring this down, but I don't know yet. Maybe by a year from now, when people go, I'm comfortable with this, not a problem, it's easy. But think about it, it's 2.75 hours. We got to pay our staff. We've got to do our overhead and all that. So that's not a number that you wanted to hear, but it's a number I wanted to start disclosing to you. Yes.
So it's anything that closes after December 1st.
Correct.
So we should get something in writing documenting the cost, because we're writing offers that are gonna be closing December 1st within the next week or two. But it doesn't state the dollar amount.
Yeah.
We should be disclosing to our buyers, hey, there's gonna be a new cost.
Okay. Why don't we chat about that? That's a fair point.
Put it on the focus title, estimated proceeds sheet, like a separate highlighted line,
Okay.
I would think.
Again, it's not a proceeds. It's not from the seller side. The buyer side pays this.
No, it's estimated cost. That's
Okay, that's what I heard proceeds. My apologies if I misheard. Okay, good point. Thank you for mentioning this. And again, we are playing with that number. When FinCEN looked at it, their number was actually much higher. It was more like 550. So we landed what we thought was a reasonable number based on the technology that we have to put in place, the systems we need to put in place, the time that we have to expend. We're not looking at this as a money-making venture here. We're looking at it as we need to close and we need to pay our staff.
Okay,
Okay?
got it.
Thank you. So please read this, look at it, know that this is the version of the form that's out right now about the disclosure. You're going to start using it, I think, soon. It'll be uploaded into your
We'll have
database.
it uploaded within the next week.
Yes.
Will this eventually be added into the, all the buyers agency agreements and
Yeah.
offers to purchase?
Yes,
That it will no longer,
yes.
okay.
So we've
Yes.
been talking to the real estate examining board on this. One of the things, and I agree with this, WRA said, hold on, we don't know if it's exactly going to be December 1st. There is some lawsuits challenging this. Some people want to push it down the road. So maybe it's a little bit later. Maybe there's going to be slight tweaks to this. Again, there's lawsuits challenging it. Oh, anybody want to guess where there's 3 lawsuits challenging the rule? Anybody want to guess? And? Texas, you got this. Yes. Why is that? But here's the thing. There's 2 lawsuits in Florida, Texas, 1 lawsuit in Florida. If the judge makes a ruling in Texas and Florida that shuts this down, it only applies to that jurisdiction. It doesn't apply to Wisconsin. So the only way there's a delay in Wisconsin is that FinCEN says we're not ready. And I actually thought that was possible until yesterday when I found out the OMB, Office of Management and Budget, approved the form on Friday.
So it's coming.
I think it's coming.
Okay.
That's my bet. And as far as the real estate examining board, we spoke with them. They said, we'll flush this out, make sure it works. And then, yes, they anticipate it's going to be included into the offer at some point. We'll just have to see. Yes. Okay. Revisions to the title commitment. You're going to see your title commitments are going to be revised to add a B1 requirement. If we have what thinks we're putting it together for our examiners that says it might fall within this category of reportable, we're going to add this B1 requirement to our commitment. I suspect you'll see this similar in all other title companies. that says, hey, if it's reportable, information needs to be provided to us. If not, we're not going to close. That's exactly what it says. And then the closer will work with your team to decide, does it fall within the reporting, or maybe there's an exception, it falls out of the reporting. If we don't do this, this is all the civil and criminal penalties that we get to pay, get to go to jail, pay lots of money. We don't want to do that. And as I pointed out, there are legal challenges to the rule in Florida and Texas, and it's based on some constitutional issues. But again, it's only if it gets struck down, it's only struck down in Texas and Florida, not in the state of Wisconsin. So that's it. I wanted to keep this brief, wanted to get the information out there, wanted to make sure you're advocates. One other thing I do want to point out is we've working on a video that we were completing yesterday. We might be able to put out in the next week or so, that we are going to, when our team of staff sends the collection information to the buyer and the seller and says, you have to give this information. Buyer or seller might go, what? They might pick up the phone and call us. I want to be able to get information up front. So we have a 1.5-minute video that's going to be included with that portal or on the PDF to give the information that we kind of talked about, which hopefully will allay the fears. And then with you saying, yes, it's a real thing, and this video, which you guys can share to the world, we'd be happy, love it if you did. We think we're going to make this a little easier come December 1 and later. That's what I got.
Cool. Thanks, Sherry.
Sellers have any activity, like buyers, you're saying around 350, will sellers have any?
We are not anticipating, no. It's because the buyer is selecting to take title in the LLC, thus, or whatever it is. So that's why we're assessing it that way. All right, thank you for your time.
Great job.
Lot going on.
Oh, my next person never, no, first I need a cocktail every night. Thank you.
FinCEN. So, question for you. Have you done a deal with an LLC? Have you done a deal with an S Corp? Have you done a deal with a trust? Have you been subpoenaed by the Department of Justice? I have. Point being is, you don't think these things are happening in Milwaukee. They absolutely are. And I tell you that because I've been subpoenaed by the Department of Justice, and I can tell you that they are looking into certain residential real estate transactions. And so you can't not think that this won't impact you or your transactions. You need to start thinking about that now, and we'll get everything out to you as it relates to the documentation and the disclosures. Cool? Sweet. All right, we're going to keep moving. Market of the moment insights. You ready? Last 2 weeks ago, I shared with you some data as it relates to housing markets and upside downs related to the demographics of those that are transacting real estate. And I shared with you this data as it relates to the transactions that occurred in 2024 to help you think about the age demographics and how you break down your database. Where it is that those within age demographics are transacting real estate in order for you to strategically prepare your databases heading into 2026. 75% of the sell side and 66% of the buy side occurred between the ages of 46 to 79. Okay. And the ages 27 to 45 were 14% of the sell side and 17% of the buy side. How you think about segmenting your databases will be vitally important in terms of how you attack your database strategically in 2024. And then I shared with you the data as it relates to what's winning. We'll have the September data out for you likely next week. And I'm going to transition into a few thoughts on growth and ambition. This goes back to the comment I made that I had lunch recently with a CEO of a publicly traded company. And I just asked him, hey, how do you fight through this concept of when people feel as if they're being, when you're trying to drive an organizational agenda and you're getting pushback because you feel as if it's complacency? That is me making a very broad statement. And I'll go back to a quote that I've shared with this group many, many times over that sometimes paints me as a fanatical competitive person, but it's probably more true than not, is success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive. Only the paranoid survive. So going back to the conversation over lunch I had recently, here were some thoughts that was shared with me around growth and ambition. And the reason why I share it with you now as it relates to how you think about your strategic plan heading into 2026 and what it is that you want to accomplish. So, one, ambition. It's essential in sales and leadership. Life is hard. Ambition is what pulls people through challenges. Without ambition, people in performance-based roles drift into complacency, which weakens leadership and sales effectiveness. You have the potential to be disrupted. Two, contentment undermines performance. Leaders who are merely comfortable struggle to inspire others. Complacency breeds complacency, making it harder to lead and grow. Inspired leaders lead inspired organizations. Growth requires personal motivation. When people see their role as a vehicle to achieve their bigger life, they stay motivated through difficulties. And this is a person who leads an organization of 2,700 employees. And I was sitting there with them, just simply asking them, like, how do you get up every day to do what you do and lead an organization of 2,700 people? That's a significant scale of significant revenue. And you're publicly traded, which means everything you do is reported on. And he said, I have a lot of thoughts and ideas around ambition and growth, and why ambition and growth are vitally important for organizations to understand, and the people within the organization to understand their role within the growth strategy of the organization and how it impacts them personally and professionally. 4, growth is inherently unstable. Stability feels safe, but it doesn't create competitiveness or innovation. If you aren't growing, it goes to the old comment of if you aren't growing, you're dying. Because stability feels safe, but it doesn't create innovation. And the reason, especially publicly traded companies that have to report their financial information, and then executives are basically graded from a compensation standpoint based on stock performance, they have to continue to grow. And if they aren't innovating to create organic growth, it's reflected within their share price. And he made a comment to me, I like the keys to my condo in Florida. I don't plan on giving them up anytime soon. I was like, that's an interesting way to correlate how he thinks about growth and why growth is important. Vision and personal, and the reason I share that with you is like, that was a very off the cuff comment, maybe a little loose with the tongue, but it's tied to something that's personal to him and whatever it is that that place in Florida means to him, and how he thinks about his role in terms of driving growth and ambition within the organization. Vision and personal journey matter. Growth requires a clear vision, plan, and budget. Leaders must share their own ambitions, including personally, and ambitions and journeys openly, modeling what ambition looks like and taking others along on their journey. Top performers may seem arrogant, but often they're just unapologetically clear about wanting a bigger life. And this comes from a comment I made around sometimes, I get the sense when people are like, oh, so-and-so's an asshole, or so-and-so's this, and so-and-so's that. And I'm like, why is it? And I kind of asked the question of like, how do you put top people in a room and get them to perform at a high level? He said, it's okay. Top performers are going to be arrogant. They're just unapologetically clear. So, and at the end of the conversation, and overall, I'm synopsizing a 25 to 30-minute conversation I had with this individual, here's the synopsis. Growth and ambition matter for these reasons. Growth is important because it creates opportunity, fuels personal ambition, and keeps us competitive. Ambition is what drives us through challenges, inspires others, and prevents complacency. Growth requires vision, instability, and a bigger personal why. And when we align our personal goals with organizational mission, we unlock the runway for both individual and collective success. I share with you as you think about your 2026 strategic plans, where it is that you are and where it is that you plan to go, and how do you bring others along with you along that journey. And you have to be open and public about your journey. If you think about all the things that we do in the fourth quarter, we talk about business planning and goal setting. We do vision boarding. We do a lot of things. Why? It forces it out of you to share it with others. And when you share it with others, it forces you to achieve things because now you're held accountable to what it is that you said you were going to deliver on. I'll leave that with you as you think as it relates to the activities you plan to do in the fourth quarter and how it correlates to the success you plan to have heading into 2026. So with that, oh, and this was a cool thing I saw on Monday Night Football last week from Snoop. He's got 20 Grammy nominations with 0 wins, but I got 40 something kids in the NFL and he feels like he won it all. Point being is that he has an ambition and he has a growth and he set a vision very clear for so many others, and how he created that through, on the West Coast, they have this Snoop Football League. There's a whole documentary on Netflix about it. It's amazing. Shares with you how people in different journeys, different communities, different places, people, background, but if they share a clear vision for others, that how they help others achieve their success can be incredibly powerful as a collective unit. So August recap and rewards, just as a little bit of a help you understand what you might aspire to do or who you might be inspired by. Home Run Club is 1 listing taken, 1 contract written, 1 contract closed. This is the group you want to be a part of. Why? Because it means you got paid and you are going to continue to get paid in the month of August. $1 Million Month Club in the month of August. This is the standard, right? Incredible group of folks that are on here for the $1 Million Month Club in the month of August. Percentage volume year to date for volume increase. Got to give a shout out Michael Longhall, Julia Jansky, Lori Flatt, Angela Palmer, Jordan Reget, Jessica Launer, Brad Yates, Jason Sasowski, Lisi Miley, Jan Von Delm, Kalina Eichstad, Mary Walgreen, Melissa Tortify, and Frank Cinto. All right, GCI agents on a team: Steph Miller, Martha Ola, Janine Warner, Ginger Lazovic, Jonathan Newby, Will Stallé, Betsy Williamson, Steph Minnick, Megan Stallé, Maggie Drain, Kathy Shaw, Casey Lopez, Christiane Camera, Spencer Harvey, and Jennifer Strelko rounding it out for agents on teams GCI year to date. August individual volume, shout out to Becky Thomas out in Lake Country at 5.2 and Mary Deacon right on her heels at 4.9. Sarah Dreyer, Benji Cohn, Elena Zeman, Sean Olenichek, Becky, Allison Maris, Lori Flatt, Judy, Ann, Abby Wall. Congrats to Abby Wall. She just had her 5th child last week. If you didn't hear that, she's building her empire. Shout out to Abby Wall. Little Maisie, she had a daughter, Maisie. Carla Florence, PY, who just had a birthday yesterday, Catherine Cario, Sarah Reardon, Maggie Rattino, Doreen Drummel, Sarah Oberbrunner, and Kristen Stahulik. Year-to-date individual units, Molitor leading the way at 76 units, Oberbrunner, Abby Wall, Lindsay Andrews, Kristen Stahulik, Becky, Mary Deacon, Joey, Judy, Allison Maris, Sarah Dreyer, Becky Thomas, Jessica Hanawi, Alex, James, Ethan CJ, Melissa Bradley, Shireen Woods, and Nada. Year-to-date individual volume, Becky Thomas leading the way, Sarah Oberbrunner, Mary Deacon, Jean, Elena, Allison, John Molitor, Abby, Judy, Sarah, Carla Florence, Kristen Stahulik, Joey Carini, Becky, Jessica, Lindsay Andrews, Melissa Bradley, Nada, Shireen Woods, and Mary Walgreen, rounding it out for individual agents year-to-date. August team volume, Gallagher Lake Country, 50 million. Sounds aggressive, but it could be. Falk Reuven, Houseworks Collective, SRG, the Thai team. Obviously, the last couple months we've had a little trouble transcribing numbers. I'm not sure, but Bruce, I hope it's 50 million. That'd be incredible. It is. It is 50 million in the month of August. Not too shabby. 30 days. On Point, Root River, Levine, Miller Marriott, Fair Hinton, the Seward Group, Ratino Kuiper, Holt, Bark River, A. Keyhome, Dietrich, House to Home, Enlighten, Blackstone, and Duval. 50 million is nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts. Nuts. Bruce and team, that's incredible. Year-to-date team units, HWC up, Root River, FRG, Stallé, Levine, House to Home, On Point, Ratino Kuiper, Fair Hinton, the Thai team, A. Keyhome, PFPG, Revolution, MTM Collective, Duval, Desties, Holt, the Wessel, Gossmans, and Champagne, rounding it out for year-to-date team units. 50 million in a month. That's nuts. Year-to-date team volume, FRG, HWC, Gallagher Lake Country, Stallé Realty, Root River, House to Home, On Point, the Thai team, Fair Hinton, Ratino Kuiper, Team Trimble, Double Bolt, Duval, A. Keyhome, Levine, PFPG, Desties, Champagne, Revolution, MTM Collective, rounding it out through August. Guys, here's what I'd leave you with. You are meant to grow. People are meant to grow. People are meant to grow, personally and professionally. Think about that. People are meant to grow. So I share that with you in my thoughts around growth and ambition heading into 2026. As we have news of Cindy Cous's celebration of life, we will share it with our community for those that would like to participate. And it's a beautiful day in Milwaukee. It's September 30th, guys. Have a great day. Thanks for showing up.